Welcome, everyone, to the 10K Rum podcast. My name is Amos Joseph, joined by my co-host, Brook Potter. How's it going, Brook?
It's going well, Amos. It's going well. We just finished up Religion 022 on my channel. I'm out here. I'm relaxed. I've got my mead. Let me just plug these guys. These guys are really good. This is a sweet mead from Celtic Wines. I think I might have shown these guys before.
They should sponsor us.
I think so. I think this is now my mead of choice. So I'm going to have a little chat with them and maybe we'll get a little something going on. But other than that, I'm doing all right. It's been a quite relaxing week. We are back in lockdown out here in Aberdeen. Not a serious lockdown though, because the only thing that seems to have changed is the pubs have to close at 10 p.m. instead of 12, I think. Right. And you got to wear a mask going into every shop and it's a pain in the ass. How are you doing? How is Minnesota holding up?
Like I said, our weather is like a woman's mood. It just keeps, it has ebbs and flows, but especially now we're kind of going into, like I told you, we had like a whole week where it was like 40s and 50s. Now it's Fahrenheit for our listeners. And then it kind of like swung back into like 70s and 80s for like a few days, and it swing back down like 50s and 60s. So it kind of like has these weird flows, but now, yeah, I mean, no snow yet, but it's definitely like just by the colors and just by the overall feel, like you can like, it's like I can feel the snow in my bones, like it's coming.
Wow,
like
in your balls. Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of balls.
Hey, we got Edmundo's in the chat. We got Brian. Welcome, guys.
Before we get into the show, of course, we do want to do a quick little thingamajig. For anyone who's, of course, joining us for the first time, we do thank you for checking out the show. We ask you to, of course, to subscribe to the channel, subscribe to us on all podcasting platforms that you're on. We just got approved we're on Amazon Music, so any Prime users can definitely access it there. I think we've been on Spotify. We're on Pandora, I think. And we're on Apple Music Apple Podcasts. I mean, it's just a lot of these are taking their time, I think, just because of like less staff, but because of COVID. But we're pretty much we're going to be on all the ones by, I would hope, by the end of the month or by the end of the year. So yes, do check us out there. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave a comment, leave a like, share the show with someone you think who will like it. But more importantly, 2 ways that you can support the show beyond just the normal free stuff you can do. Go to tacticalsoap.com, type in the coupon code 10K Rum. That's just 10. The number is 10 and then K, the letter K, and then RUM. That gets you 10% off, and a kickback goes to us. Or go to subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers. That it gives you different ways where you can pledge the show monthly, anywhere from $1 to get you access to our Discord server, all the way up to $25 a month, which, of course, you'll be in the same position as our good friend Edmundo. Shout out to him, who is our $25 a month supporter. That gets you access to our to shout outs, to our Raw Takes video series that we do, where we talk about more raw topics that were more with a whole lot less restraint on a separate thing for just those subscribers. So check those out. And of course, back to the show. We got a couple of different topics. I think we're going to try to, there's not as much quite going on. I mean, there's big news, but there's not numerous news.
Huge news.
Huge
news. So do we want to jump right into that, or are we saving that for a bit? Let the people know, first of all, we are going to be missing next week's show. Well,
yes. We won't be here.
Let them wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, we won't be here next week because I will be in Salt Lake City with our good friends over at the Masculine Geek channel. I'm going to be hanging out with them. They're doing like a meetup for people that are part of their they have like their own little men's community that I'm a part of. So I'm there with that. They put an invite for us to come. I think it's going to be like anywhere from just a little bit more than half a dozen of us that are out there, with, of course, all 3 of the guys out in Salt Lake City. Rob, who's part of the group, he lives out there. So we're heading out there, go meet up with them I'm planning to get there by Thursday. we have like an Airbnb booked till Sunday, so it's gonna be Friday. Saturday is the actual thing, and then Sunday, we all start heading back. So I'm driving all the way out there.
Be safe, man. That's a long haul to Nevada.
Well, yeah,
right?
that's why I'm leaving
Utah,
on
Utah.
yeah, that's why I'm leaving on Wednesday. So that like if I'm driving through the night or anything, I make sure I get like some sleep. And I know the whole thing, stopping at gas stations to get a little sleep.
Get gas.
Yeah, well, of course I'll get gas.
That too.
But yeah, of course, get sleep, get food, all that fun stuff.
Definitely give the Masculine Geek crew our best. Tell I wish I could come out. That sounds like a cool hangout, man.
They do. I think they do like meetups like once or twice a year. They just kind of like just for not only for like fans, but also now they have this men's community. They're doing that too. But so I'll be there. And I won't be able to do either the Religion Zero or our regular show. But of course, I'll be back the week after.
Yes.
Now, I think in a way we kind of made up for it by having Spike on last week.
Last Tuesday.
On Tuesday, if anyone wants to check out episode 106, it's a 1 hour show, but I think it's packed with more than we usually have, where we have our I would endeavor to say my friend Spike Cohen on the show, talking about the campaign, talking about working with him and stuff and different things. And of course, after that, I did go to the event. I did go, he and I actually were tag team doing door knocking for you
got to highlight that comment.
So that the one from Amundo there?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I will be doing on this trip will be, of course, in our Raw Take series. So do keep in mind about that.
If you want to hear the behind the scenes, and Edmundo, the answer to your question will be in the Raw Takes.
Yep.
For those listening, Edmundo, our good friend, he says, gas? Is that what we're calling hookers now?
Exactly. So do check out the Raw Takes, of course, for next week when I will be mentioning that.
I still have a story for that we haven't filled in, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. So what else is kind of going on?
So the huge news.
I guess I'll fill in. Yeah, huge news. So
huge news.
Which one?
The Witch is dead.
Wow. We just went
right. Okay. So let me clarify on. I know every conservative just like, oh wow. Look, okay. She was not fantastic. She wasn't great on the First Amendment. She wasn't great on property rights. She did do some stuff for men as well, in terms of men's rights.
She did some stuff not so good for Native Americans.
Yeah, she wasn't great on a lot of issues. I'm kind of agnostic. Kind of maybe she wasn't as good as.
Who are we talking about?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Or as when I first read it, because everyone calls her, RBG.
Notorious RBG, yes.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here, in different, all these group chats I'm in, breaking news that's just, going across. And I'm like, red, green, blue? Now I've done I'm not a professional video game by any means, but I'm kind of like a intermediate guy with video and all, AV type stuff. So I'm thinking like, obviously, red, green, blue.
Right.
Which is like the common thing for
primary
describing
colors.
Primary colors. Like if anyone who remembers like old like projectors on airplanes, like when you're watching movies on an airplane, if you look up behind you, you see three lenses and they're red, green, and blue.
Exactly.
And they kind of alternate the colors to give you your film.
Were you disappointed when you found out what it actually meant?
So then I saw, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, not red, blue, green. And I'm like, oh, it took me a while. And I went, oh. And then like someone posted from NPR, that she's dead. And then there were two comments after that in this group message. Is this for real? Because
she's died like 15 or 30 times in the last 5 years.
Going to the hospital for like 3 months. She's had all these close calls.
She disappeared. Like TMZ was looking for her. It was yeah.
But then so that actually happened, and she was around her friends and family, from what I read.
Yes.
and she passed away. Now she's kind of being praised as this symbol of gender equality and all this stuff.
Yes.
Um, I did see something really interesting. Apparently, like, was it Scalia died in his offices? Well,
Yes.
died in his position,
Anthony
right?
Scalia, correct. The Chief
So
Justice.
someone pointed out, like, the Washington Post, how they covered her death,
Uh-huh.
and Scalia's death.
Really? Okay.
So, like, they gave her a bigger front page, and it was,
Right.
champion, a pioneer of gender equality dead. And then for him, it was like something just
Far
way
right.
no,
Extremist
way just
Nazi.
underwhelming. Half the page, smaller picture, smaller text, like
Right.
the whole thing, and it was like, huh, kind of media bias, no media bias, my ass, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, besides that, so she passed away, and I'll just get this out of the way. The memes about the Supreme Court justices have been ruthless. I got it out there, everyone.
Yes. Yeah. It's, I mean, I really should not be laughing at some of the memes that have been coming out. The woman is probably not even cold at this point. She passed away yesterday, or maybe the night before yesterday, depending on time zones. But yeah, some of the memes and stuff of that have been pretty epic.
And this is what we always we always believe here on 10K Rum is memes by themselves are great. They're not meant to make any sort of claim or judgment upon someone. So when you're watching us and we're sitting here talking about the memes about maybe a dead politician or some sort of tragedy or something, we're not making fun of the event or the person themselves. It's more just the meme, the joke, as Ricky Gervais said to Michael Scott, as whatever his character's name was in The Office, to Michael Scott, which is played by Steve Carell, was humor, comedy is like the brain giving itself a tickle.
Right. Fair enough.
I always want to be clear on that when we're talking about memes with
when we're being edgy about.
We're being real edgy. We're being real ruthless.
I mean, and to be fair, I think, look, so Brian is pointing out, yes, of course, she was one of the deciding votes in Roe v. Wade. She was also the tipping point on Obamacare.
Roe v. Wade was like 7-2, though.
Yeah, but she was one of the big proponents of changing the argument and stuff like that. Right. And again, she was big in favor of some government censorship and not exactly in favor of private property rights when it came to eminent domain and stuff like that. So she wasn't exactly a libertarian hero. I'll give you that.
Right.
It wasn't all bad. As I say, she did do something for men. I think men, I don't know the details of the case. I was actually trying to find it. But something about access to parenting and stuff like that. She made some comments in the 70s about unless men have equal access to their kids, women can never truly be free. But let me just say with that, I mean, she did say that 75 years ago. In practice, she really hasn't done a hell of a lot for men. Some people might want to jump on me for that, but we're going to give her the benefit of the doubt at this point.
Yeah, this is the tough thing about Supreme Court justices, associates, or chief justices is that while presidents choose and the Senate confirms them,
yes,
they're supposed to be apolitical.
Generally speaking.
But
that fucking doesn't happen.
and really what it comes down to, if you want to say among the three branches of government, the least in terms of expression and sort of actions that have been taking place, the Supreme Court tends to be the least in terms of the least politically driven. It is not saying that it isn't politically driven.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be, but even with all the corruption, with all the nonsense that happens in our government, they still tend to be sort of like less than the other two, because obviously Congress and the Senate are just swinging back and forth every other term. There's crazy nonsense, all this stuff going on, all these comments. Senators, representatives are just speaking out without restraint on whatever they want to talk about. The presidents have on both sides said all sorts of things, and the Supreme Court justices tend to remain we'll just say more quiet.
Yeah, they stay out of the media much more. And even at the State of the Union, if you watch the State of the Union, the Chief Justice, the justices are there, and they're not allowed to applaud. Well, generally, they're not supposed to applaud or stand, or they're just supposed to sit there and not show any kind of partisan rhetoric and stuff like that. So I understand they're trying to push that narrative.
And of course, the way they dress is very sort of apolitical too. I mean, the judge outfit is one thing, but it's meant to sort of be the solemn, almost stoic kind of just we're separate from all this.
Correct.
Even though when you as you examine the records of these judges when they're picking them, or even just after they become a Supreme Court justice, you tend to figure like they'll say like a conservative justice.
Yes. Yeah.
Or what would be the other one then? Like what's the left?
A liberal justice. Yeah.
That's where they tend to more regularly use liberal or conservative. They won't say Democrat or Republican because that denotes political, actual party affiliation. They'll just say like, so you have judges that are more, on the liberal side of interpreting the Constitution. Some are more on the conservative side. You also have like the constitutionalists. And this is the thing is, because of her death, do you think this, what do you think this does to the Supreme Court?
Well, this is a golden opportunity for Trump and the Republicans if they have the balls to do it. And I think he's going to. I think given what we see coming up in this election and how the Democrats seem to be pretty much ready to rig the election in terms of mail-in voting, it's going to be a shit show, right? So even after November 3rd, with all the in-person voting that's counted, they're not going to declare a winner until all of the mail-in ballots are counted. And their strategy, I mean, basically all stops are off. They're going to fucking flood the mail-in voting system. I mean, Pennsylvania just did away with the signature verification. So, I mean, it's going to be a shit show. This is probably going to go to the Supreme Court. So this is why I say Trump, by all means, understands that if there's not a full bench and there's a chance for a 4-4 split, it's going to be fucking anarchy. So it is in their best interest to have a Supreme Court justice in place by time November 3rd comes around. Now, there is contention. As we've seen, the left has been screeching harpies. I'm sure you've seen a couple of the videos of these, white Karens losing their shit in their car. Some of them are like, fuck you, Ruth Bader, you just had to make it to 2021 and, all this kind of nonsense, right? Some have even gone so far as to say they're angry at her for dying now. She should have retired under Obama and been replaced, but she didn't. And so there's a lot of hate from the progressive left.
And this is what I actually in a conversation I was a part of. Someone brought up that, and this has been an interesting topic to touch on. Do you think there should be an age limit on these positions?
Term limits and age? No, I'm not.
Age limits on Supreme Court justices.
I don't think so. I think the system of appointing them right now, I think it's fine.
Right, but I'm saying for Ruth Bader Ginsburg to make it to 87.
87. Now she should have stepped down. I concede that, but she was, because she's probably, well, we don't know. I can't know her mind. But she was kind of drinking her own Kool-Aid. She wanted to die in office. And I will give her props. She was still dealing with cases probably through her cancer. It's a lot of strength. I'll give her what she's been through. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of her health and what she's still trying to maintain, you got to give her props for that. But she should have had the sense to step down from the position and let somebody else.
And this is the thing that I'm trying to, because some people kind of brought up an interesting point about how there could be the possibility, what they said, like government forced retirement, like public servants, people in elected positions should be forced to retire for positions that have no limits, sort of like how Supreme Court justices, whether it's 70 or 80 or something where, because having Supreme Court justices that old, they think some people thought maybe not a good idea.
At this point, I don't see it as a problem.
Because, I mean,
no, I don't think I see it as a problem. Okay. I don't know who the oldest Supreme Court justice is, but now they're picking younger and younger people. So Sotomayor is pretty young. Justice Roberts is pretty young. The potential replacement that Trump has on his short list, which is what's her name? Her name is Amy Coney Barrett. She's pretty young as well, although she's a devout Catholic, so people are a little concerned about that.
This is the other thing too, is people are concerned about. So right now, the Supreme Court justices went from 9 to 8 because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So decisions, so that you could actually have a split on decisions that be coming out of the Supreme Court right now. Correct. Now, until someone else is brought in, you won't have the 9, which causes that tie vote thing.
Yes.
Excuse me. To break the tie. So now, as soon as she passed away and people were all mad and all this stuff was going on, I saw a bunch of people kind of rolling out the whole, Roe v. Wade's going to get rolled back. Roe v. Wade's going to get rolled back. All this stuff and all that. And I thought, and I actually heard from some people who said, yeah, probably not.
Do you know who Tom Cotton is?
No.
He's a governor. I think he's the attorney general in Arkansas. And he's on the short list for replacing RBG. And his tweet was, Roe v. Wade has had its time. And after that, I will be happy to serve at the discretion of the president, or something along those lines.
Yeah, you're not allowed to talk. You can't say that.
Yeah, I know. This is my point. But this was actually the point I was going to make. This is Trump's nuclear option, right? He's basically going to turn to the Senate and stuff like that. The Senate, right now, the Republicans control the Senate, right? I think they've got 51 or 52 seats. I can't remember which one. There are a couple of them that are kind of rhinos, Republican in name only, and they might flip and go with the Democrats and whatever. And he's going to basically put up the Amy character, the Amy Barrett, he parked her on I think the 11th or the 12th Circuit Court, or one of the courts, because she didn't have as much bench experience, but he's saving her for the Supreme Court. Heavy pro Second Amendment person, heavy free speech, an originalist, studied under Scalia. So she's the prime candidate. She didn't have enough experience, so he put her on the bench there, and now this position has opened up. But his nuclear option to the dissenters in the Senate is basically going to be, either you give me Amy, or I'm going to fucking send up Tom after the election when I win with a landslide. And Tom he's the anti-Roe v. Wade guy. And I think that is the political game that the Trump advisors are probably going to put forward. In fact, Ted Cruz is on the list as well, and I like Ted Cruz. He's a potential to replace the justice.
The memes about Alex Jones are pretty funny too.
Oh, Alex Jones, that would be fucking brilliant.
But this is the thing is, I've actually heard that even like among people, I think people thought like Gorsuch would actually be one of the judges to help roll back Roe v. Wade, but I've actually heard that he wouldn't. He probably would. Yeah.
No, he dissented to, he sided with what's precedent, so he didn't change it at all.
Yeah, and here's what I'm thinking about that whole thing. Is it's probably not going to get rolled back.
I don't suspect so.
And this is the thing is, feminists and even some, less crazy feminists, tough to think about, but yes, they exist, are kind of like freaking out about all this. And a couple of them I've commented on like Facebook posts and stuff. I was like, actually not. No. Like, cause it's not so much like about the thing itself. It's more just the panic, oh my gosh, she's dead. Now we're screwed. And I'm like, come on, really?
I think to a large degree, this is probably the best thing that could have happened for the Democrats.
Yeah. And here's another thing too, was people were pointing out, Schumer, was it Schumer? No, McConnell. McConnell spoke on 26. Did you see the whole thing about, so he made a comment in 2016 that they quoted where he said, president
McConnell rule.
Yeah. You shouldn't be appointing and confirming judges on an election year.
No, that's not what he said. What he said was, when you've got a divided House and Senate that are not in agreement, we should not appoint a judge during an election year. So basically, Obama lost the Senate and the House as a message to kind of check his power. So the Senate basically took that as, the people do not want us to just rubber stamp anything that's being said. But this is different because the Republicans own the executive and the Senate. So there really isn't much of a conflict at that point. That's why it doesn't apply.
And here was another thing that I heard, and this is actually from a libertarian. So this is posted this and said, all this power play sort of, delay, not delay, wait till this time, wait till that time is just stupid. Do your job and just get a new judge in there.
Yeah, I understand the argument.
Like the continuation of the system of appointing new judges, putting new people, like just fill the spot, not sitting there trying to like debate about, should we wait till after the election, wait till this time, we don't want to do this because of this power play. And it's like, no, just do your job, put a judge in. It's kind of like,
I mean, I understand the point, but the fact is there is politics in play in the Senate, which is why McConnell
did not, sure. I get that.
Yes, McConnell did not. Yeah, he didn't authorize it in 2016 when Scalia died. And he died early. There was like 10 months to the election. But it was the end of Obama's term, right? So he was like on year 8. There was no way he was continuing. And he basically said, look, we came in because of you. You basically got people out. And that was the distinction. So I actually agree to a certain extent. If there is some kind of backlash by the people to say, hey, look, the executive is not acting in our interest, I would say, yeah, okay, I'll give it to you to maybe hold off on the justices in that respect.
Right. So, yeah, it's turning into a whole new thing. And I understand the importance of it, obviously, but I just think, just get a new judge in there.
They're never going to do it. It's because when the situation is reversed, trust me, the other side's going to do the same goddamn thing.
Yeah, fine.
Actually, it is. In fact,
we're not gonna get a new justice until January.
No. Trump is going to ram it through now, right? So,
no. That's what I'm saying. I'm just like, just get a judge in there. Just.
I'm pretty sure Trump he's gonna do the nuclear option. He's gonna get probably Amy, if not Tom would be fun. Fucking that would just send the court so far right. It'd be too funny. He's gonna ram it through. I think that, and McConnell seems to be on board with that. RBG was confirmed in 42 days. I think they're 44 days till the election. Well, it could be done. It can be done in less time. So yeah,
and technically they can keep doing it after the election because.
Keep vetting, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying is like, the election can influence some things, but people don't come into power until January.
Yeah, but the votes, there's a time limit on when the votes have to be counted by. I don't know, it's not November 3rd, but it's by the time they vote for the Electoral College. It has to be in by a certain time, and I think that's late November.
No, I know. I'm saying election's one thing. I'm saying is confirming the judge. Like, everyone that needs to make the decision to confirm a judge will still be in power all the way till January.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if this becomes the shit show that we suspect it will with the mail-in voting, you're not going to want to wait. They're going to want to have that person in place. Oh,
true. Yeah, no, that makes sense too. So,
that's why he's going to ram it through.
And I really hope this doesn't just become a whole nother thing that the Senate and the House can just fuck around with and make more.
The House
excuses.
Can't touch it. Yeah, the House can't touch it.
For it to become a larger political issue that overshadows and just completely blots out the COVID thing.
It will, because I don't think Americans give a shit about COVID generally, right? Except for the Democrats.
I mean, we've talked about the whole thing, like, because of the government overreach, because of the crazy stuff they've done to disrupt, our entire economy.
Yeah.
And the relief that they essentially owe us at this point.
Yeah.
They're kind of like just constantly delaying the problem. Because I saw something about, there's talk of now 2 new stimulus checks, not just the one to be the second one, but like 2 other ones to plan out. And there's always this talk by all these financial advisors, by all these people in positions of financial power that are like, we should do this because the economy's going to just get, even more fucked.
Yeah.
And then these other political issues pop up. Not to say,
oh no,
RBG
I
should have died. But it sort of flares up more stuff like, ooh, let's go it's a little bit of bread and circus to like, let's go talk about this now. Forget the fact that, this economy is still waiting to crash. Let's go.
There's two narratives that are being pushed right. Well, three really. The riots, but I think Trump has basically squashed the riots, if I'm not mistaken. The last attempt in Portland, the feds came in and strategically broke the thing up in like 20, 30 minutes. But here's the thing. So the progressive left that's been sucking down hard on the teats of CNN and MSNBC are fucking petrified, right? These are the ones in Democrat-run cities and stuff like that, where they're still insisting on lockdowns and mandates and masks and all this. And the progressive tit suckers are scared. They are probably not going to come out to vote because they're fucking petrified, right? So they're going to do the mail-in voting sort of thing, right? So that's one side of the narrative. But like I said, the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the best thing that could happen for the Democrats because now they have an incentive to actually go out and vote. You cannot tell me that anybody was excited about Biden. You cannot tell me that anybody could like even say what the fuck his positions were. Like, was there really a reason to vote for him? All it was orange man bad. So this is actually a good motivator for both sides. I think more so for the leftists, well, for the Democrats, because they think they're, Trump is going to start marching them into the FEMA camps and all the gays and lesbians are going to be burned in the ovens and all this other shit, right?
Get some patches,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that they seriously think that shit, man. You've seen some of the videos of these Karens losing their shit, and they really believe that. So I think I don't know if the base of the Democratic Party, but definitely progressive wing, with the death of Ginsburg, they're motivated.
Our friend Robert Frank was thrown into a compilation video. Was he? Funny. So someone said like it was an Instagram video and the caption was I don't like what is it? I don't like carpools.
Mm-hmm.
And it was let me actually I'll just pull it up. I'll probably pull it up.
See if you can find. He did do a question in the last episode of the Glorious House of Gains podcast. And, he does the contest at the end. And they called Zach G, which is one of the regulars. And he picked Ray Vegas to do the question. And anyway, the audio question at the end was Joe Biden rambling in some nonsensical, non-coherent statement about how he's got hairy legs and the little kids would come and rub his legs up and down and they turn golden and shit. And he was trying to tell Ray Vegas, like, identify this person. It was so funny. He's definitely down the rabbit hole, I think.
Here we go. Let me. You see it there?
Yes, it's come up here.
So you see, so it's this guy Justin Wang. I think he's so he's actually friends with our friends over at What's Happening, Shane and Nico. They had he's like a half Asian guy, but he did this post that said, "I'm never carpooling again."
Right.
And it's just all these videos that you've probably seen before of like
Yeah.
So
Brother,
yeah.
So make sure and put a link to that in the description so people could go and see it.
It's just now I mean, purely just for the comedic value, I think it's absolutely hilarious. Like,
no, I agree.
I agree. Not to make fun, like, but it's just, and I've joked about this with people. Is someone will make a post, and I'll be like, I said, you give some interesting takes. You should like do videos in your car.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the viral, like, the hot takes of like politics and everything is always someone in the car.
Screaming in the car. Yeah.
Screaming in the car, whether it's the left, the right, anything. Like everyone is just in the car. Now, yeah. And it's like in some of these, of course, it's like, do you live in your car? Like, what's going on here, buddy? Like, do we need to call someone? But it's just funny. Like,
yeah, I mean, Robert Frank has been doing his daily. I think I've seen Edmundo in the chat a couple mornings when I wake up and he's still going. I could see him in the chat with Robert Frank and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Like, and again, like that's not to make fun of Robert Frank, but it's just funny. Like, I don't think I would have carpool. And it's just
somebody puts him in the car.
And that's an old video of his, but I thought it was just hilarious. Like,
oh yeah, definitely. But I think the whole thing with RBG, if and the problem for me is that the Republicans are so used to being given a yard and they only take 6 inches, right? they're hopelessly inept at actually doing anything. So I really do hope that they, kind of grow some cojones and grow some balls and really get this done. Because they're always snatching, defeat out of the jaws of victory kind of thing, And yeah, I think it's going to be a shit show given what the Democrats are trying to do with the mail-in voting. They better get this shit right. That's kind of my thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Edmundo kind of makes a good point. He says he thinks by next week the story will wear off and the normies won't even care anymore. And that's true.
Yeah, it's a 7-day wonder, as
yeah, this is the thing. Is everyone like all these people that I saw that were posting, oh my gosh, Roe v. Wade's rolling back, and like I even saw people like buy up your stores of contraception and birth control. I'm like, holy shit, people, like settle down, like you're gonna have like a paper towel, not what's a paper towel, toilet paper shortage, but with birth control, like. Like, come on, guys. Like,
there was some woman when I think Trump got elected. She was saying like, "Get your abortions now," or she was on some talk show and she said this shit.
This is not how it works.
For these progressives who for some reason think like millions of gays are dying and millions of trans people are dying and women are being denied.
Like here's the thing is, and I've looked into this. Like there are statistics to show these things, but it's the way it's the outrage becomes more important than the statistic. Right.
I mean, millions of gays are not dying. Millions of people are not dying in the U.S. any more than usual. They're trying to suggest that Trump's America is killing millions of like new people who would not have died, and there's nothing to support that.
Yeah, it's. I get what you're saying. I've seen like there's growing statistics on certain things, but to attribute that to Trump is a bigger problem than it is. Like, okay, so if more of these people are dying because of reasons, this is really what it comes down to, because of reasons. Okay, let's address those reasons.
Yeah.
Do those reasons make Trump the one to blame? No.
Correct.
Like we've had presidents that are, as the left will like to call problematic, depending upon how you look at it. Every president is doing something shady, is doing something crazy. Yeah. Now, it's not. I don't think that's really a whataboutism. It's just okay. We could look at like if you try to like play your intersectional game and try to find every sort of people group. I bet you could find rising deaths among certain groups under Obama, under Bush, under Do we attribute is the rise in violence against Muslims to Bush during his term? No, probably not. I mean,
there's no way to prove. I mean,
do you attribute the rise of certain types of racism against certain groups of people during Obama's terms?
Oh, hell yes. I would definitely say Obama did not help race relations in the U.S.
Probably didn't help, but I mean, this is the thing: is does any president really help any relations?
No, I think he definitely threw kerosene on the fire when Trayvon Martin and a couple other comments he should not have made that kind of really stoked some racial tensions.
Yeah, typically when I'm seeing presidents when they address these issues is they sort of just, I mean, you offer condolences to the families affected, regardless of who was in the right or in the wrong. Yeah, you kind of leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's usually the media that kind of spins the narrative for both sides.
Correct. Did you see what Trump did when he was told the news that RBG had died? I think he was just getting off the plane. And, I think
he definitely wasn't showing like, immediate, like, bawling or crying, but he definitely was like, wow, Like,
yeah, he was kind of, I thought it was actually quite presidential given he didn't know. It was kind of took him by surprise. Right. And he said, she's a great lady, whether you agreed with her or not, great life. I thought he did really well in terms of the response.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other comments that some Obama and some of the other people, it's night and day in that respect.
Right. But
buying up all the bullets. There's no more ammunition in the U.S. and that's why you need a new Second Amendment person in the Supreme Court, because all of those gun cases, your bump stock, you're all the Republican governors and others have been holding that shit back all of the,
Yeah.
the regular, because they knew that the court was not very pro Second Amendment. So hopefully, if they get somebody in there, you're going to see all of those cases go to the Supreme Court, and hopefully, some good things will come out from it.
This is the thing too, is the whole thing with the bullets is I've actually heard like people are starting to buy up bullets they wouldn't usually buy.
Oh,
like this is the thing. All the well, no. It's just like we are so out of bullets.
Yeah, there's a
that people are buying up the bullets they wouldn't buy.
Maybe they could trade in the Civil War.
Yeah, trade or people are basically starting to expand their arsenal into like weapons that people don't typically own.
Right.
Because I have some people I talk to that have guns and are stocking up on certain things, and they've talked about how like there's because of like just the stock, how they're just out of stock on so many commonly used bullets. Like they're starting to buy up bullets that don't really, it becomes a question of not of do you have the right ammunition? It's a question of do you have the right gun?
Right. I get what you're
because
saying.
It's like just these more and more obscure types of ammunition. They're like, okay, I gotta buy a gun for that now. Like, so it's both a good and a bad thing, I guess.
Have you been? I don't know if you've watched Tim Pool recently. Because he got a gun. He got a Waltham something from Steven Crowder.
Right.
Apparently, he has 6 guns now. He's moved out of New Jersey. He's somewhere remote, away from the cities, and he said in a recent podcast that Tim Pool, and he said in a recent podcast that he had 6 guns. And he's a hippie flower child, right? So for him to come to that point, I think there's a huge shift, and I think a very pro Second Amendment wave is definitely
and it doesn't necessarily like take some sort of political stance in a way of engaging with a current conversation. It's just, hey, this country looks a little dangerous. I'm gonna get some guns.
yeah, he said that. He said he's moved out of the city.
Like someone said, if they try to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like there's going to be some riots or something.
Oh, yes. Not just riots. They're going to burn it all down. So there's been a whole bunch of course, these blue check marks on Twitter screaming, apart from, I think No was trending on Twitter for some reason, over her death. No. And it's a whole bunch of these people basically saying like, if they try to replace her and this, that, and the other, just burn it all down, and it's going to be riots and violence and all these different kinds of things. I mean, it's bad. I'm sure a lot of it is just talk, but I really hope the Republicans stand their ground and get it done.
We should move on to a different topic though.
Yes,
we're actually getting in. We're pretty far into the show now. One thing I was thinking of. Did we talk about last week about the Minneapolis crime problem right now?
How they've defunded the police and now there's a shortage of police.
So there's so there are still police. This is the thing. People thought like Minneapolis completely removed the police, and no, there's still police.
Yes.
Now there's a spike in crime right now in Minneapolis, and activists, so like these leftist activists have spoken out demanding answers of the city of Minneapolis. Why is crime going up?
I did see that. And
I saw someone post that, and I'm just like, I mean, all these, someone posted a picture. It was 3 wells, like actual wells in the ground.
Yeah.
So well, of course.
Well.
And I'm thinking of like The Office, how the turntables,
Yeah. No, somebody posted, my friend Andre, guy back in Trinidad and Tobago, he tagged me in a video, somebody doing the commentary on this issue. And Minneapolis, the city council not only wants to defund, they want to dismantle. I don't think they've gotten that far, but I think they've reduced the budget in Minneapolis by at least $1 million.
Right now, they're reaping the fruit of that.
Yeah. And then, as you say, all of this chaos started breaking out. You just discovered the George Floyd Autonomous Zone in Minneapolis.
So, okay, hold on.
Which is a mini Chaz.
Let's be clear on this. The George Floyd memorial. I've been there. I was for working. I didn't even know where it was, but I got there and I looked around and I saw it looked like, set up like an automaton, blocked off blocks, city blocks, stuff like that. It's actually not in downtown or anything. It's actually like in a neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like 2 blocks out of the city or something.
I looked at it. I saw like this whole center sort of memorial thing they have. It's just flowers and pictures and stuff. It's a lot of artwork. Doesn't look like Chaz by any means.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, I think just the population of Minneapolis and just the way we are, like, it's got it. Like, there's a reason
it's
a lot
not
of the
Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, the reason a lot of the violence took place in downtown is because that's where the people are.
Yeah.
For how far out this is, and it was only like a mile away from downtown, but that's far out. Like, the thing about Minnesota is it's not some metropolitan place. It's like there's downtown Minneapolis, and you just walk 1 mile out, neighborhood.
Yeah,
it's just neighborhood.
Suburbs. Yeah.
Like you go over to St. Paul, you walk a mile east.
Yeah.
Fields.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
This is the whole thing. So it's important when you look at that. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why it's like when I'm there and I'm looking at this, it doesn't look anything like Chaz. There's no, I'm not seeing people walking around with ARs or anything. I just see some people wearing masks because it's, it's groups and stuff. There's a memorial there.
Yeah.
They've got some signs up. They've got boarded up areas.
Yeah.
And there's like people taking watch. That's about it. I think there's like one of the signs I saw said, "Fuck the police."
Yeah. So what I understand, your city council in Minneapolis has completely lost the plot. They're fucking retarded. So not only are they denying that this autonomous zone exists, they also admit they're in negotiations with the occupied territory, right? It's some news outlet that some news release that they put out, right?
Now, I want to kind of bring it back because there's an interesting kind of, I learned about this last week too. So when I went with our friend Spike to go do door knocking for the, so we went out there to do knocking on doors for Chris Claviter. He's a guy that's running for mayor in Burnsville. We did door knocking. We go around, we put little stickers on people's doors, and it just has like his personal phone number, which is cool. And then his like social media and all that. People can just check out, call him. And a lot of people were like, like it and all that. So, but we were there, and there's also people there that are part of the city council that are libertarians as well. So what's nice is a lot of these smaller city councils around the Minneapolis-St. Paul area are becoming more libertarian.
Good.
And what's interesting is, so Burnsville is like a higher middle class sort of neighborhood, 60,000 people. It's one of the major suburbs of the Twin Cities area. Defund the police as a message cannot be marketed there at all.
I would not suspect so.
Their police has no problem. It's not even like, like they have no police or whatever, or if it's a certain thing. It's their police basically has never had to do anything. Like they're actually, I think,
such a low crime area.
Well, not just that, but also like a lot of their tactics, a lot of their training is very different than Minneapolis Police Department.
Right.
And it's so different. They actually had to hire the Burnsville Police Department to come out to Minneapolis to teach them de-escalation tactics.
Brilliant.
So this is kind of like one of those things where it's showing like, it wasn't where it's showing like, oh, Minneapolis Police Department literally just had a huge lack of training.
Right.
Now, is it, the whole Derek Chauvin, George Floyd thing, that I think that's somewhat isolated, but still probably just a like sort of like a zit of a larger problem. Like that happened because of the larger problem of lack of training. But this is one of those things where
George Floyd apparently swallowed some packets of whatever fentanyl.
No, I know. I'm saying
that's
like
not entirely their fault.
No, I know that. But I'm saying is for Derek Chauvin to
I get what you're saying.
Like what he did. So it's showing that like there's a real disparity between like lack of training can be a huge problem. So and that was the thing too, is right now this is like this whole problem of lack of training, and instead of addressing the problem, you address you think,
The symptoms.
Yeah, you're trying to deal with what you think to be symptoms or the cause by defunding the police, and and here's Burnsville Police Department like, we don't have to get defunded for anything.
We're good.
Yeah, and they actually have
good.
like a good police department. They've got plenty of staff, and it's not really.
It's not an issue.
It's not an issue for them because they actually are properly trained and they're in an environment that actually is better for that. Now, Minneapolis, like I said, that's the thing. They actually have to like, hey, we need help from other neighborhoods to teach us how to be cops.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. In fact, Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually upheld the prosecution of some police against qualified immunity.
Right.
When, so she has done,
Right.
she's not all the Wicked Witch of the West, but yeah, no, but you see, then you find a police department like that, and you can't really take the reputation of the Minneapolis police and put it on a place like that and be like, well, yeah, we got to defund these police too and remove their qualified immunity when they're not abusing the system.
I mean, removing qualified immunity as a whole, I think, is not too much to ask. It's just more so the big problem is lack of training, though.
I would agree, but I think they do need a certain amount of protection. Not to be exploited, but that's always the gray line. You can't legislate every little piece of police action. But
yeah,
is it time to wash your balls, Amos?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Balls washing time. Did Spike ever use our code? Is he like sorting out his endocrine system? You should follow up on that.
Yeah. Next, I don't know when will be the next time I see him, but I think for sure probably be election night. So,
let me know if he's coming out to the UK for the Libertarian Convention. I'll go out and see him. It's in Cardiff this year, so let me know.
Yeah. Okay. Support the show, everyone. 10K Rum is the coupon code if you want to get 10% off on Tactical Soap, or check out Subscribestar for our monthly to pledge the show monthly, so we can provide extra content for people. Like we do shout outs for Edmundo. We're going to start producing some merchandise when we get a lot of people on board. And then also, what was it? Oh, or joining the Discord server, of course, and our Raw Takes videos for $5 and up. So $1 a month, all the way up to $25 a month. If you want to support us and subscribe, and of course, wash your balls with Tactical Soap. So shout out to all of those guys. All right. So
absolutely. So, I mean, there has been a lot of other small news that's taken place. I mean, as of today, I think somebody sent some ricin to your president.
Really?
Somebody sent ricin in the mail. I don't think there's been any update on that. I haven't looked into it. Princeton has admitted that they're systemically racist, and now they're being brought up on contempt charges by the Congress.
An Ivy League school that is racist against certain groups of people? No way.
Yeah. They did a whole thing about how racism is systemic in the institution, and this institution was founded on slavery and all these different things. And Betsy DeVos, who is your head of Department of Education, they had Princeton, in a hearing I guess in the Congress or the Senate, one of the two, on this very issue about discrimination in applications and stuff like that. And Princeton lied to their face and basically said, no, we always look for the best candidate. And now that this letter has come out, her department is like, oh, well, then you lied to Congress then. So they're going to investigate Princeton now for racism.
Yeah, this is a weird thing, is these high up institutions will say everything about us is founded upon slavery.
Yes.
So we need to be more equitable.
Yes.
Really is what it comes down to. And then they get investigated and say, no, we strive for equality, and we don't discriminate. And then, okay. And then they go, all right, so that's that. And they look at the policies. Okay, that's that. And then a month later, they go back to we're all founded on slavery and everything's racist. So it's like, okay, either you do your best to be in a place that is of equality, and you understand that because of that, there's going to be outcomes of disparity.
Yes.
Just naturally, that's just what happens. Not everyone is going to have the same, like the inputs that produce the outcomes the outcomes are going to be different. So
correct.
And don't turn it into like, this is founded upon, like, This is the thing we talked about on Religion Zero at one point. This sort of radical, sort of ignorant pacifism that people sort of take, that becomes ignorant of the violence that led to that. So
Right.
so all of the violence in our history has led to where we are now,
Right.
to be able to have the privilege of relative, but quite a bit of peace,
Yes.
and just the,
Pax
for
Americana.
yeah, like we get to do all this, but don't turn around and be like, because we can afford this peace, to then deny all the cost that we have paid to lead up to this peace.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's essentially that decadent feeling, that decadent idea of where we are right now, all the spoils, all the good, all the greed, and all this stuff, this ability, this consumerism, all the stuff, and all the good in the world now, because it came from all this what we view as bad.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is all bad, and it's like, well, then there will never be good. Then,
correct. I mean, it is the classic genetic fallacy.
yeah.
Right. So you think something is rooted in, evil. So they say, like, Christians love this shit about the Christmas tree. A Christmas tree is pagan, and, Yule time and all this kind of shit. So because, some people back in the day in paganism did that practice, therefore what you do now is pagan.
Right.
Completely dismissing the autonomy of the individual and the individual purpose and intent of the individual. So no, this genetic fallacy, like once upon a time, piercing your ear was a show that you were a slave, right?
Yeah,
or you were owned by the pirate ship. You were kind of part of the pirate ship, and they'd do it there as well.
Tattoo might as well be branding.
Right. So if tattoos, yeah, the Nazis used tattoos. Are we going to basically say that all tattoos are basically linked to Nazism and Nazi propaganda? So no, the genetic fallacy exists for a reason. Just because you know the source of something does not mean that's the present condition of the thing.
Yeah. Or the banning of certain phrases, stuff like that. Like we can't say certain phrases. Like, I mean, because if we want to truly, I mean, I'm kind of, obviously parroting it. Yeah. But if I really want to achieve truly secular society, I can't say goodbye.
Okay. Why can't you say goodbye?
God be with you.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, cool.
That's what it means.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
If I want a truly secular society, what was another one? I just had one I was thinking of. Or if I want a truly, egalitarian society, I can't say the rule of thumb.
Right. Why?
The rule of thumb originates from the back in the day when you would beat someone, usually beating a woman. The rod you would use could not be thicker than your thumb.
Oh, right. I think I heard that.
Rule of thumb.
Yeah. Right.
Now, is it to glorify and say, keep that phrase to glorify it? No, it's just the thing. It's the same thing we say. Are we literally saying, prepare your rod to be the rule of thumb?
Beat someone?
No,
I'm a perfect example. I did not know that was the meaning. And I might use that in conversation, and probably most people actually don't know the meaning. So how could you label us with some kind of anger or hatred or bigotry or whatever if we don't even have any consciousness of where this came from? And far less, that's not how I mean it. If I say rule of thumb, it's just kind of like, this is everyday understanding, right?
Yeah, this is like if I said common sense. Yeah. Hell, what if common sense meant something else? that had even just a hint of something people don't like.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous slope. It's going to destroy society, right? The people who forget their past are doomed to repeat it, sort of thing.
Like. Someone even talked about this too, which is interesting. So communicable diseases like the flu and all these things.
Like COVID.
Not even talking about COVID.
Oh, okay.
Huh? Not even talking about that, but just, I mean, it is communicable, yes. But typical everyday like flus, colds, and stuff. We've always called this virus that we get during the winter a cold, right?
Yes.
Scientifically speaking, so when I learned about this, it's not really so much about the cold as it is more people are indoors.
Right.
that it transmits. So temperature, while having some factor, the primary factor is how many people are actually indoors.
Okay.
So, but because common knowledge sort of, as we, this common wisdom we've passed down over the ages, we just always called it a cold.
Right. Right.
And we're probably always going to call it a cold. Like, I remember I watched this episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Data is trying to sneeze.
Right.
He's like pretending to sneeze. So then Wesley Crusher comes in and says, "What do you like? Oh, you're like trying to have a cold." And he goes, "A cold what?"
Right. Right. Okay.
Because at that point, like, he goes, "Oh, it's this disease people used to get on Earth." Kind of whatever. But that was the thing, was we call it a cold because it was commonly associated with the cold.
Right. Right. Okay. I get it. So people go inside, kind of thing.
More people were indoors, therefore more people transmit, which makes sense why, statistically speaking, yes, there's a higher chance of transmitting the cold.
Right. Right.
During the winter.
Interesting. But yeah, it's language is nuanced, and the one of the many things progressives do not understand is context. Right, so they don't have any understanding and nuance and stuff I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the censorship that's been taking place on Facebook with the fact checkers.
Our live stream.
Yeah, probably. Right.
So if anyone who doesn't know, we've been doing pretty much, like, we've kind of had to change up how we stream it. Like, we go on Periscope through my Twitter, and we go to the 10K Rum channel, but also the Brook Potter channel, because Facebook has sort of locked us out of streaming there.
Yeah, it's because we're politically incorrect, and they can't give us the resources to fact check us as much shit as we talk about.
Say they're pulling a Spotify on us.
We're gonna hit on Joe Rogan in a minute. So, but yeah, no, this is exactly it. It's that they do not understand an opinion. Where is it? Opinion, right? Somebody's expressing an opinion. You cannot fucking fact check somebody's opinion, but they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, like someone posted a meme of, I guess Biden had a little bit of a gaffe. He showed up, landed at some airport.
A little bit.
One time. Only one time. No, he showed up at this event. He landed in the airport, and I guess just for a brief moment.
You're good.
For a brief moment, he waved off towards nothing.
The distance with nobody there.
So someone made a meme that said, Biden is waving at his, invisible friends or whatever. It was like
his imaginary friends.
Yeah, ghost or something. And then, this meme went up, and people were like, fact check. And I'm like, really?
Exactly.
It's a meme.
No, and the left does not understand humor. They don't understand nuance.
Have you seen a leftist meme?
Oh, I've seen a couple of them. They're fucking terrible, man.
It's like, all right, let me write this dissertation on a meme. What?
It's like, first of all,
meme.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of jokes of it, like the political compass, and you see like a normal meme, a normal joke, and then you see the bottom left is this fucking dissertation. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. So a quick, before we get to Rogan, just for those who might be so inclined, Mia Khalifa has returned to the porn business. She's now on OnlyFans. So there we go. Good stuff. As a married woman, after she's been exploited on what was it, Bang Bros, and she only made $12,000, and it was all not her fault, and the industry's been terrible, and it's all men's faults. Good news is, guys, she's left her podcast, her sports announcing job that she's worked in for 2 months, and she's now on OnlyFans. So let's just just welcome her back, everybody. Yay. Mia Khalifa's back, everyone.
It's going to be leaked so goddamn quick.
Oh, yeah. There's a Reddit forum that's all over that shit, man.
But yeah, we've talked a little bit I know in the past about Joe Rogan. So everyone kind of knew Joe Rogan switched over to Spotify. YouTube's been kind of just screwing him over. And he's trying to, I think it was $100 million, was it? Yeah.
$100 million.
$100 million deal. Now, however that's paid out, it's whatever. But Spotify basically wanted him to come over, and he started, so I think it was starting September, they were going to move episodes over. And then by the end of the year, the entire Rogan catalog would be moved over to Spotify.
Yes.
And one of the first things people noticed, I think a couple weeks ago, was like towards the beginning of September when the process started, was some episodes were missing. Now people were like, okay, what's going on here? Are they just like kind of just pulling random ones to test them out? No. Whole numbers were just like skipped.
Yeah.
And it was episodes where Rogan would have comments or multiple, a comment or multiple comments talking about certain things regarding trans issues. Now, everyone kind of knows about the whole trans kids thing or trans athletes thing that Rogan talks about, since he's actually in that industry, to be able to like make a comment and say, hey, men who decide to take estrogen yesterday that show up in MMA fights and beat the shit out of women, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be happening. So he's talking about all this. So all these episodes got removed. Trans ones or just other episodes that were deemed politically incorrect. And people were like, what? Spotify signed this whole contract with them and this is going on? And I guess some information has come out about what might be happening.
I don't know if what might be happening, but the information came out that the staff is losing their shit.
Yeah, and well, what I'm thinking is probably happening is some of the executives that signed the contract were like totally on board. Like they kind of looked at probably purely the numbers and were like, hey, number one podcast in the world. Yeah. We want them. And then the staff who were like, this is more problematic and all this, the people who were in, maybe the people in the team that were in charge of moving his stuff over just skipped over a few and thought they wouldn't get caught.
Yeah, that's basically, and apparently in a recent leaked memo or something, they're really, really struggling over these trans issues. And of course they put out a statement. Oh yes, we're very friendly to the alphabet people, and we're very inclusive, and all these other types of things. And anyway, he recently did one with a psychiatrist, I believe, or a psychologist, who got into the whole aspect of trans trending, which is, kids basically saying that they're trans so that they can get special privileges and, whatever the case might be. And, there's an exponential jump in trans kids, well beyond the bell curve kind of thing, like well beyond the mean. The mean.
The mead?
Yeah, I was just looking at the mead. And so, yeah, this psychologist basically came up and said, look, if this was natural, like if this was legitimate, we would expect that the older people who are now kind of, it's now cool to come out as trans, you would see like an even distribution of like older trans people coming out and stuff like that. But that's not the trend they're seeing. It seems to be coming exclusively from the pressures of social media and this progressive ideology, forcing a lot of kids wanting to be special and unique and get the praise of whatever virtue signal to trade to be like a trender, right? A trans trender. So anyway, he did that discussion, and now they've lost their shit, and they're like, we can't put this out, this, that, and the other. That's where they're at.
Watch him sue them for that whole $100 million if they try to breach the contract.
I hope he does. I hope he does kind of stand up and say something. But
here's what I'm thinking is he probably doesn't care because he has the money. At least
if
right
he
now,
has the money. Yeah, if he has the money. Yeah. I don't think he has the full amount yet.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's that going on.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And it's kind of disappointing because he's so chill, right? And what the problem is, the executives understand what they have, right? Joe Rogan is definitely a moneymaker. And especially since he went and made that offer to both presidential candidates to come on his show and do a 4-hour debate. And Trump has kind of already said, let's do it.
Trump is promoting it on Facebook. I'm seeing like posts, like advertisements of him saying, get Joe, Sleepy Joe is not coming on board, support Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Like, so this is perfect. Like, it's because
such troll. He's such a fucking troll.
I love did you see the Babylon Bee article about it?
No, I don't know if I've seen that. No.
Trump goes on Joe Rogan and gets absolutely stoned for 7 hours.
Oh,
And it's like someone took a picture
I'd love that.
of Trump, and it's like him just surrounded in like smoke, and
Smoke.
he's like, I was like, that's perfect.
That is bloody brilliant, man. But this is it. So the executives understand that they have a very unique opportunity. The executives, if it's never going to happen, but if Biden actually did it and they could actually get that, that would be the podcast of the century, at least so far. That's going to make them a lot of money and all this kind of. So the executives are understanding the numbers, but the progressive employees, they're wanting their safe space, and they want to tittle off mommy's tits kind of thing. They're not getting it, and they've been like all hands on deck meeting at these Spotify meetings to discuss these issues. Right. And so far, I think the executives kind of have their hand on the pulse. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how long it's going to last, and I really do hope Joe Rogan speaks up and says something about it.
So I told you about this show. I'm gonna move on to this topic now.
yeah. We got about 20 minutes we could get to it.
I told you about so anyone who's wondering what show we're talking about, of course, on Amazon Prime, there is their own this new show they had that came out last year, The Boys. It's based off a comic book. Basically, what it comes down to is, and of course, spoilers ahead as we talk about this more openly. It's a comic book, graphic novel, we're going to call it, about sort of like in America. At least so far, it's America. It's the world as we know it, with superheroes. But instead of it being kind of like your Marvel, DC sort of like heroes, or sort of like it's like a clear lines between the clear lines between good and evil, basically. Like there's not too much gray area unless it's like some sort of moral struggle or whatever. But typically there's like a clear line between good and evil among superheroes. Tony Stark, pretty much good. Captain America, pretty much good. Like they'll do a whole movie about like the little gray area they get into or something, but it's like because it's such a huge breach. But The Boys kind of is this sort of dystopian almost view of American corporatism plus superheroes plus just all the worst kinds of things. So it's a world where superheroes are they exist. They do all these things. They do save the world. They do crime. They fight crime. We'll say that. They don't save the world. We don't know yet.
Not yet.
But they fight crime, but they also, at the same time, they're doing it for the money, for the brand, for the company they serve.
For the fame
and all this stuff. And it's all a lot of like interests and agendas. There's even whole things about like, there's some political intrigue in it. There's even military agendas they get involved. Like it's all like if there was a corporation that could become an arm of the U.S. government in a way. Anyways, this is the whole thing. So you have these people who are known as the Seven. It's basically the Justice League of this world. And you have their leader, which is basically American corporatist. Yeah. American corporatist, greed, corrupt Superman called Homelander, which interesting name, but and then there's their version of the Flash, which is funny enough. I mean, I don't know if this was like what kind of pick this was, but their Flash, their fast running guy, is a black guy, and I'm wondering if there's some like Usain Bolt or something. But A-Train, and then there's the Deep, who's basically Aquaman. There's Queen Maeve, which is Wonder Woman.
Basically Wonder Woman, yeah. I
don't know what Black Noir was.
They're putting him off as a Batman character, I think, to a certain extent.
I thought he was like a Batman versus what's his name, the guy from G.I. Joe.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah, a little bit of that too.
Kind of like that. I mean, I know what his character. If they're doing the comic book, I know what he is. But yeah, so I kind of took him like that. He's really good with knives and fighting.
Starlight.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like a Green Lantern knockoff.
I wonder if she was like a Starfire from Teen Titans kind of thing.
Possibly.
And then Was there another one?
There is a lantern guy. He showed up recently. Illumination or something. He was disappeared. He wasn't in the first series, but he.
Translucent.
Right. No, there's translucent, and then there is a lantern guy. There is a lantern guy.
Yeah,
and he's hooded. Yeah.
Translucent was an invisible man.
Yes,
he's at the beginning of the show, season 1. So the whole thing is so there's this whole world of superheroes. They're all, funded by companies. They're backed with brands. They've, I think some of them even have like some sponsors like on their costumes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's how would it work in today's world? So there's this whole thing going on, and you encounter this group of guys who are led by Billy Butcher, which is played by Carl Urban. Yeah. And they're these group of guys who have all been victims of sort of the collateral damage or the carelessness.
The lamplighter. That was the last one. He hasn't had an arc yet, but he's the Green Lantern or something.
But there's been this whole, there's a group of these guys who have either been victims of the collateral damage or sort of the carelessness of these heroes.
Yes.
So in the trailer, they show this for season 1. There's this guy named Huey. He's this sort of kind of a dopey guy, bit of like a loser. Works at this like TV shop or something. He has this girlfriend, kind of serious, but there's a point in the show, they show this in the show, he's like about to turn his life around. He's about to get a little more serious about life. And she's kind of with him, and things are getting better for him. And so they're outside on the sidewalk, they're talking, she's like kissing him and all this, everything's going great. She takes half a step off the curb, not even really on the street, like where a car would be parked. And here comes A-Train, which is their Flash, full speed, goes through her, and she just splatters.
Yes.
And all that's left is her hands. And there's Huey,
he's holding,
just traumatized, his girlfriend, just dead. And A-Train's just like, oh shit.
It's like, oh, I can't stop, man. I can't stop. And he runs.
Just keeps going. Later on, they kind of reveal, this is the first step into understanding this world. A whole bunch of lawyers from this company that is A-Train's a part of comes out. Vought. They come out. They have this whole contract, this NDA for $40,000 or something. They say, here's this. You can't talk about us, because if you do, we will bury you in court, basically, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is the world they're in, is people basically suffering this collateral damage of heroes. They get paid off to be quiet because heroes have no consequences in this world. Pretty much. And it's kind of, and it's in a way, it's kind of like addressing the problem you see with superhero films. Like, what was that? The Avengers, remember in Endgame and Infinity War, they kind of addressed you guys are wrecking shit all the time.
Yeah.
Are you really being the help?
Yeah. Are you really the hero, or are you the villain, sort of thing?
But they still had a huge leniency on that. Whereas in this, it's straight up oh no, this is how we do it. We'd fucking just sue people if they try to make it a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're going through all that, and you get a group of guys that are fuck heroes. And that's kind of which is the boys, basically. I don't think they actually call themselves that. I mean, at least the comic maybe does that.
Yeah, and he would refer to it sometimes. So Butcher, who is the main character of the boys, he would say, "I'm out with the boys," and that's just kind of the nickname that stuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of just a placeholder rather than calling them an official name. But
it's not only boys, because they have the female, right? So they have Kamiko, or whatever her name is.
They call her Kamiko in that, yeah.
Yeah. In the comics, it's the female.
Yeah.
But she's definitely fucked up. That's a very demented character.
Yeah. So there's this whole they're playing through this whole thing, and it's just this struggle between it's like supposed good versus good intentions, and there's no clear line between the good guys and the bad guys per se.
Pretty much. I mean, I think it's brilliant television, right? Because I wanted to see it, but I couldn't find it, right? So I don't have Amazon, and I wasn't going to pay money just to watch the one series. So let's just say ARG, I went on my expedition, and eventually I did find a means by which I can watch the first season. And I got into it and I saw the opening scene and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is actually pretty brilliant. Then I found out it was a comic. I went and got the comic and I read through the whole thing. And I was like, oh, this is really good. And I love what they did they really pushed the envelope with the story. They're not doing the political correct nonsense like Marvel seems to have cucked themselves to. Seems to be going in that direction. They've avoided it so far. DC as well. But things like Captain Marvel and the Black Widow apparently is going to go down that route. They're not doing that at all. They're doing like, this is racist, this is sexist, this is offensive, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it kind of thing. And I love that attitude with the filmmaking.
Because it's essentially like you're taking like a very almost dark but realistic view of what would happen if superheroes actually existed in this really fucked up world we're in.
Exactly.
You know, yes, there is good. Yes, there's good that is shown in it, but it gets so blurred in with the rest that it doesn't really become a question of sort of good versus evil, but more of what needs to be done kind of thing. What one side believes needs to be done versus what the other side believes should be done. Like there's all this conflict where you don't really know, like we talked about this, like, you know, what are kind of our favorite characters. And for me, it's more of like an appreciation of how a character is depicted rather than like, you know, what is like, because when I'm looking at a superhero movie, oh, who's your favorite? Iron Man or Thor or whatever, because they think like, oh, cool abilities and stuff.
Right.
Because like those are the good guys. At no point I don't think anyone would be like, you know, well, I really like Thanos. Like maybe my favorite character. I mean, maybe some, but they're usually there might be like a mainstream like Thanos appeal would be like, oh, I like how he's played by Josh Brolin, and you know the whole struggle of, you know, his morals, his ethics, and all this stuff. Ooh, okay, cool. But it's never like, oh, I like him because he wipes out half of humanity.
Right, I would give you that on Thanos. The one guy I'd kind of flip the script on that would probably be from Black Panther, Killmonger. Yep. You know, the guy, I actually preferred him as a character. I actually understood his motivation a lot better. And, you know, I would have, you know, God rest Boseman's soul. It's Boseman, right?
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. But I actually really connected with Killmonger in that show.
Yeah.
But yes, in The Boys, you're taken to...
I'm taking a Homelander.
You're taking a Homelander.
And it's just because he is probably the most fucked up character in terms of like the moral compass and all this stuff, everything he does. But the way the actor plays him, the way the writing portrays, weirdly enough, his growth as a character.
Yes.
Like, because even though he's the most fucked up guy, he's still growing. It's kind of like viewing like you know, it's this lens that is focused on this thing. It's so fucked up, it's so out of focus. So it's like the way they're depicting him sort of coming into focus.
Right.
But it's like this, but what you come in while you're sitting there worrying about trying to come into focus of this picture, you find out the picture that you're trying to focus on is like this monster. So it's like,
no. I think because I know the concept of what they're doing with him. I didn't particularly like him in season 1. I mean, not that I didn't like him. It's just he wasn't at the forefront of what was really going on. And kind of at the end, I knew what he was going to do with you know the mother figure that he had, and I knew what he was going to do in terms of, you know, depicting, you know, just he's getting more evil. It's like he's just coming into his darkness. But he wasn't that dark. He was twisted. So like, again, a spoiler is like he has this fetish with baby milk from, you know, one of the characters, you know, breast pumps, right? And he's like watching her, you know, pump milk, you know, through the wall with his X-ray vision. Like, I love that they depict that. I love that because there are not many shows would ever do that. And he was like really twisted with it. He eventually kills the woman and he goes back into the fridge and he like drinks the breast milk. Like, this is some fucked up shit, right? But
and then
the demented side is now coming out in the part 2, in season 2, where you can see it's really
I like the one of the times was it? Oh, it was that woman that works at Vought that's on the computer.
right, the Indian lady, yeah.
Yeah, he basically just goes like, "Hey, I need you to." She goes, "Well, can you?" He goes, "I'm fucking Homelander. I can do whatever the fuck I want." And that was kind of like, I mean, when they first introduced that, it was just more of like, oh, he's just like a sly hero that just has a little bit of a power trip. But then as the show progresses, it's like, holy fuck.
Yeah, and that is what I did like, is he starts off very not wholesome, but he's a likable character. He's comes across pretty well. He's a Christian. He goes to Christian events. These are my people. Baptizing people. It's like the writers were fearless in writing these characters. But then you start to realize that this isn't because he's the greatest hero. This is because people are scared shitless of him, because he could flip at any minute and basically slice you in half with his laser eyes, right? That
depiction of laser vision is really interesting, because you never think of that. Like, there's even moments I've seen like the animated Justice League stuff, where Superman is like fighting a horde of what's his name? Not Apocalypse.
What's his name? Doomsday, not Doomsday. Darkseid,
yeah. So Darkseid has this army of sort of demonish looking like creatures or fiends or something, and Superman uses his laser vision and just vaporizes all of them. Yeah, it almost like you don't really realize sort of the level of violence and sort of just killing, but then with Homelander, it's like laser vision cuts people in half.
Yeah. And I love it, because the one of the big scenes is when he's on the plane, right? So he's on the plane and he completely fucks it up because he's actually being lazy, right? He's using his laser eyes rather than dealing with people. So if he's confronted with a villain, he just shoots them with his laser eyes, like, okay, fine, sorted. And he does that to a terrorist on the plane, but in doing so, he shoots up the controls of the cockpit, and basically everybody's fucked. The plane is going to go down.
Well, and he doesn't even try to save them.
And he doesn't even try.
He's like, I don't have any ground.
So he's there with Maeve, and she's like, well, you got to save the plane somehow. It's like, what? There's nothing out there. I can't stand on anything. And basically mocking Superman to a certain extent, right?
And then she's like, well, let's save this kid. And he's like, no, she'll tell everyone.
Yeah, exactly. The
moral
dilemma.
Are coming at them, and he's like,
oh
fucking laser all, and his eyes light up.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love what they did with it. And even it's a minor thing, and some people thought it was very disturbing, but I actually did enjoy. Well, I like the play on it. In the early offset, as they normally do with an episode like this, they bring in a new character to basically introduce you to the world. So this is a writer's trick. You see with NCIS, you see with all these things. So Starfire is the girl that comes in. Starlight, thank you. And she is sexually assaulted by the Deep.
The Deep, yep.
Right, so the Deep basically kind of blackmails her, takes advantage of her naivete, and he gets a blowjob. And, all right, cool. Eventually that whole thing blows up, and there's like a Me Too thing that goes on and stuff. But it's done well. It's done well in the context. But there's a scene at the end of season 1 where he's a pariah. They've shipped his ass off to Ohio, to the biggest water park in fucking Ohio and whatever. And he meets up with a girl, brings him back to the apartment, and she's like, I want to see it. And he takes his shirt off, and he's got gills, gills going down the side of him. And she's like, oh, this is so freaky. And it looks very disturbing. It's very, very bizarre. But then she basically assaults him by, she would take her hand and shove it into his gills, right? And it's hurting him, and she's getting off on this. And I'm like, it's basically, she's raping him, right? She's basically violating his space, doing to him what he did to, what's her name? Starlight. Starlight, yeah. And it's such a play. It's such a mind fuck how they did it, And it's like, you don't see this kind of television. And it's very dark, very adult, but it's brilliant television.
And this is the thing is, if I'm watching a superhero like common superhero thing, I can there's almost like a coordinated sort of feeling that I'm following this trail of like I'm feeling, wow, awesome, yeah, just generally positive. And then what they did recently, I don't know if you heard of the movie Brightburn.
Right, that was the evil Superman kid.
Yeah, kind of like yeah.
I
So
didn't watch
evil
it. I know what
Superman.
it is. Yeah.
So I'm and then that kind of what they call it, like superhero horror, which is really interesting.
Yes.
And it kind of takes you down this other direction of like, wow, you're very clearly like, wow, this is fucked up. This is evil. It's depicting very strong, like negative sort of, if you want to call it energy, whatever. But you kind of feeling this. You're going down this path. This show kind of takes you down the middle where it's like, I don't know where the fuck I'm going with this. So should I be scared? Should I be cheering?
Yeah.
So the entertainment really just becomes like you sort of kind of have to remove yourself and go, the characters, the development, the growth, whether it's into being a better or worse person.
Correct. Correct. I would say there's the most unrealistic thing about the show was the ultimate goal with the military. Because there's no way that the US military did not already have a contract with these people to get people in the military. Right.
I mean, I wonder about that though, is if because of how politics is in such a gridlock at times, they probably figured the backlash was not worth it. And like, remember they had the whole discussion about like, okay, what are we calling these super villains? Super terrorists.
If you believe for a moment that the US military is probably not trying to develop super soldiers at this very minute, no, Vought would have been front and center of that research probably since the 1960s.
Right. Well, they probably had that, but like,
yeah. I mean, other than that, it's a fantastic show. I just thought that was a ridiculous twist because I understand that they have to tell a story. But in reality, God, no, the fucking U.S. government would have been all over that shit from day one.
Vought did work for the government, though.
They did with municipal governments, so they would rent their superheroes out to a town or whatever. So,
no. Like season 2, you remember the whole story with Edgar, the guy who played Gus Fring.
But yeah. So I mean, they get the contract at the end of season 1. So
no. But I'm saying is in season 2, that whole thing where Homelander sits down with the CEO of Vought.
Oh, and he tells the story
about how Vought
yeah.
was founded actually as it was a government scientist.
Yes.
It just because of the thing and all that, like it was kind of like a Cold War thing or something. It kind of got put under the rug until very recently. Like the truth about this Compound V was kind of known, but not really.
Yeah, but it's brilliant television. We recommend it. Have you, if you want to touch on other very bizarre superhero movies, have you watched The Umbrella Academy?
I started watching a little bit of it. It's weird. It's kind of like
It is very weird.
It's like an X-Men meets Lemony Snicket. Yeah,
it's kind of campy, but it's also very, very bizarre. That is also a show. I mean, you have to be in the mood for it. I would say
I haven't really been.
Give it another crack if you get a chance and watch, because it just came out with season 2. But,
well, yeah, like I said, I watched a couple of the episodes and I just was like, because all the things with the abilities and all this was kind of like in the past, and then there's that kid, that brother that was like lost in time that just shows up, and I'm like,
number
what?
5.
I'm like, what?
It's very heady. You really got to kind of focus on what's going on there, because there's a lot going on.
Like I'd rather watch Arrival.
Yeah, I've seen Arrival, the sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I was like, I'd rather watch that and trying to figure that mind fuck out than to try to figure out Umbrella. I don't know. It's just it was just kind of like this weird. I don't know. I'll have to take it.
Yeah, no, I say give it a crack. As I say, even with me, sometimes I start something and it's like, okay, I'm not in the mood for this right now, but then I'll come back to it later. Like, okay,
like Deep Space
I'm ready
Nine.
For this. Yeah, I tried Deep Space Nine. I made it further than any other time. I'm on season 3 at the end somewhere, but I fuck it. No, I'm done. But at least I tried. I gave it like 3 good attempts to watch Deep Space Nine. So,
but anyways, we're actually on time. We're doing
Fantastic.
good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Brian, I know the sun is coming out here. I'm going to have to find a sheet or something to put on that window, but yeah.
Once again, thank everyone for joining us, of course, for another episode of the 10K Rum podcast. This was episode 107. If you'd like to support the show, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can either subscribe to the show, leave a comment, leave a like, share it with someone that you think will enjoy watching the show. Check out our previous episodes, of course. Subscribe to us on all of our podcasting platforms that pretty much anyone's familiar with. You can find us on all the major ones. Or, of course, the two really cool ways you could do that is for supporting the show is go to tacticalsoap.com. Purchase anything that you'll like there. There's beard oils, but mainly the soap is kind of their big thing. Tactical soap, of course, is really good for you. It doesn't mess with your endocrine system. It's sort of like an all-natural but actually effective type of soap. Use the coupon code 10K Rum, just 10K RUM. That will give you 10% off as well as a little kickback to the show. And of course, go check out subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers. That link takes you to our Subscribestar, where you can pledge monthly to the show on whether you want to go from $1 all the way up to $25 a month to support the show. You get perks like joining our Discord server, our Raw Take series, or of course our shout outs, and of course shout out to Edmundo on that. So yeah. Anything else real quick?
No, I think we've covered the bases. It's going to be an interesting week watching what happens with Trump and his nominee.
2 weeks of shows to catch up on.
2 weeks of shows to catch up.
All right, so news. Sorry.
Right. So again, you're not going to be here next week. I think we said that in the beginning. So yeah, guys, we'll see you all the week after.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching, everyone.